Sacious Creed. Welcome to today's show. So today is going to be about family gang stalking and the cure to family gang stalking. And kittens.
And kittens. So what I was thinking, I'm Aisha's mum.
Aisha's mum?
Yeah. and I call her Lil, so that's her pet name that I call her. So if you hear me call Lil, it's the same person, Aisha Lil. So Lil, I remember about a year ago, was it, that you did a video on family, what was it called?
Gang stalking in your own family.
Even in your own family, that's right. And I was stalking through your YouTube channel the other day. I don't know if mothers are supposed to admit that.
No, they do it, they just don't admit it.
Okay. So I was gang stalking you the other day through your YouTube, and really enjoying some of your old videos. And then I came up and oh my gosh, your looks have really changed as well. Like, you were a little kid when you started this channel.
I know, I was like
So
16.
cool.
I was maybe still 15 when I started my first one.
Yeah, exactly. So what I was thinking was, because that one was so popular and it was such a great video, maybe I was thinking I'd love to hear an update and even hopefully contribute a little bit to it.
Okay.
So maybe if you talk about a little bit of a recap on what it's like, because I think it's such a huge topic.
Yes.
I think it's huge. I think especially if you listen to Hans Wormhat, shout out to Hans, right?
Shout out to Hans Wormhat.
We love Worm's hand. Oh, here, one arm is low. He's really, we didn't really feel that we could talk about that, because you think families are sacred, nothing like families.
Yes, exactly. Blood is thicker than water.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't pick your nose and you can't pick your family and all that sort of thing.
What? I've never heard that one.
Haven't you heard that one?
No.
That's right. It goes like when someone goes, "Oh, my bloody family does this," and "Oh, I hate it when they do that," and you go, "Well, you can pick your own nose, but you can't pick your own family."
Oh no,
You don't like that?
That's
There's
terrible.
old people jokes. She hates old people jokes. Okay, so just recap on if you can remember what it was.
Yep.
Because like I was saying, it's such a big topic, because I think a lot of people are gang stalked by their families, but maybe they don't even know it. Like, what are some small symptoms or big symptoms?
Well, just most of the people I consider narcissists.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of people is like, narcissist in your family, parent narcissist. They're just gang stalkers. I don't think there's, I think most of the narcissist situations are more gang stalking when you listen to them in depth.
Right.
So I think a lot of parental narcissism is probably gang stalking, and child narcissism, gang stalking towards parents.
Yeah.
Like your father, my grandfather, he's a gang stalker, but then if you looked at it in another way, he's also a narcissist. Well, maybe they're the same thing.
But this is the part that is very confusing sometimes. It's almost like a husband that bashes you. You love him to death, and he gives you a bit of a whack. Some people say, well, that's abuse and that's domestic violence and he should be arrested. And rightly so. I'm not endorsing domestic violence. But the woman that's in there thinks of it as a little tap, right? And says, yeah, but I love him.
But he gives me so much affection.
Yeah, I'm winning.
Takes care of me.
Exactly, in the cycle of violence. As soon as he gives me a whack, he turns up with a dozen roses, and he's cleaned the car out, and he's got sitter for the kids and takes me out for dinner. And then we do some, fun hanky-panky that night, and he's really attentive. It's like, but he really loves me, right? And isn't that the same with gang stalking family members?
Exactly.
Because they're narcissists, they're so good at what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the wife beater. He so knows what to do.
He knows how to.
Yeah.
He knows how to
bash his wife and then leave her there for a couple of weeks. No, he bashes her and he comes back an hour later and he's on his knees.
Exactly. But he's do it to do it.
So isn't that the same as family members?
Yeah, absolutely. So with family members, the situation is that you really can't walk away, because a lot of the times maybe you're young, maybe you have nowhere else to go, maybe you're just so empathetic that you're an empath, so you
and
can't.
they can really make you dependent on them too, can't they?
Exactly.
Like your family members, they can really make you dependent. So it's like, well, if you leave me, I'll cut you out of my inheritance. And
Yeah, never asked for anything. We never asked for your inheritance, but they're using these things like, you know, we're gonna, you know, cut you out of your life, and they threaten you like, I'll never speak to you again. It's like, but I don't particularly like you anyway.
Not my daughter anymore if you go dating that boy, you know. And they're just stalking you. They're just gang stalking you. They're just bossing you, being narcissistic, being controlling, which I guess is kind of part of gang stalking, isn't it? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Controlling you?
Yeah, well, I think that's definitely gang stalking, because it's gang stalking and narcissism are on the same boat.
Right.
You know?
Are they the same thing?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So, you know, a gang stalker will, you know, do something horrible. Hang on, the dog is sitting. I'm sorry. The dog is sitting on the kitten. I have to rescue. Oh my god, that kitten, how are you alive? Okay, the kitten is now rescued. So they will, like what Mum was saying with the dozen roses, you know, they will. Yeah, one of the kittens has decided to try and get into my chemist bag. He's like, Okay, so animals started, like it was World War III in here. They went all Planet of the Apes, dogs versus cats. So anyway, we're back.
So you're just saying it's like the bashing husband from the, you know, was it from the Sabotage tribe? And he's come back with his bunch of flowers and he's really, really sorry. So that's a bit like the gang stalking family member, isn't it?
Exactly. So the gang stalking family member will do something horrible to you, and it's just exactly the cycle of violence is a universal thing. So they will ruin something for you. Let's say, for instance, me and Mum used to go travelling a lot, and I use my grandfather as an example because he's like the best example for gang stalking.
And the closest person to
and
you,
the closest person to me apart from Mum. Anyways, me and Mum would maybe go. We lived in Tasmania, island state south of Melbourne. Let's say we wanted to go to Melbourne, which is like the closest big city, for the weekend. Anyways, my grandfather, where we used to live, was like a 2.5 hour drive from the airport, but it was only like a 20-minute drive from my granddad's place. So we would stay there with my granddad, maybe sleep there the night, leave the car there, maybe the cat or the dog, whatever we had at the time, and then we'd go off for the weekend. But he would be sure to ruin everything the night before we left. So we'd go to bed probably crying because he'd said something, made a fight, and then the next morning, you know, we'd just get a taxi to the airport or something, and then we wouldn't talk to him, and then we'd come back and he'd pick us up from the airport. Oh, hi, how are you? I put a roast on. The classic roast was his 12 flowers. That was his 12 roses.
That's right.
He's like, I cooked a roast. It's like, yeah, you're on the suck. So, and then he cooked a roast and he tidied his house, and he was just like, loved like a different person.
Really?
You know? And then we're like, hang on, every single time we go to leave, he makes a fight, and then he makes it lovely when we come back. So it's like he's almost training us not to leave. So that is just a small example. Hope that was a good example.
So that's kind of like a controlling behaviour, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So
They're trying to train. He's trying to train you.
Right.
Like training a dog to
like
sit.
coaching.
If you sit, I'll give you a treat. If you run away, I won't give you a treat. So he's ruined everything. Coaching's a good term. He's coaching us, teaching us, training us that if you leave, if you just go to leave, then I will make a fight and make your time miserable, because you'll just be thinking about the fight you had the night before you left. And then you'll have to spend like $50 on a taxi to get you to the airport because I'm all huffy and puffy and not going to drive you.
And that's all we're going to talk about all weekend is how Poppy's been a prick.
Exactly. And so the whole time we're just like, we just spent like $1,000 in Melbourne on accommodation, food, going to like some sort of event, and we're just like sitting there going, geez, a prick. And meanwhile we're at the freaking, you know, the ballet or something.
Thing in the world.
I remember we were at the ballet once and we're like, geez, Poppy's a prick, and that's all we talked about the entire time was how much of a prick he was.
Whispering to each other, you know what, that bastard did.
Yeah, it's like, remember the time he did this? And then we were at the I think we were in Sydney that time. It was at the Opera House. We were watching the What was it, the circus?
Yeah, we went to see the Chinese circus.
Yeah.
And we also went to see the
It's one of the most...
Billy Elliot.
Oh yeah, that was really good. That was really good. So we're there at like the most classical things, like watching Swan Lake, and we're just there just bitching about my granddad, which he's just ruined our entire time. I don't even know how expensive those tickets were, and yet all we were talking about was him and how horrible he was.
So they really try to, like, they're like one of those little those botfly things.
Yeah.
They really weasel their way into your brain.
Yeah.
So that's like all you think about. So they've only got to send you a tiny snarly message, and you will think about them for the next week. You'll be crying or you'll be upset or something, and then they'll weasel their way the 12 roses back into your good books with the roast and stuff, and act like nothing happened and tell happy stories, and you're like, am I crazy? Which is gaslighting at its finest.
That is gaslighting.
Am I crazy? Did I really see that gaslight flicker? And if you haven't seen
the movie Gaslight, it is absolutely. It's great. It's a 1939, 1940s movie.
It's
about
very simple, isn't it?
It's very simple, and you don't even know what it's about until you get to the end and go, oh. But it's about 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It really is. So yeah, definitely watch that movie.
Which is where the term came from.
That's where the term came from.
And then I think the gang stalking came from gaslighting, didn't it?
Yes, which is like multiple people gaslighting you.
Right.
And street theatre.
And,
So yeah, you can get that movie for free just on YouTube. Just Google Gaslight and the year, whether it's 39 or 40.
Really old.
Really old.
Really old.
It's like just after they're like, wow, we can put voice and picture together. So it's just after the silent videos.
Yeah, but I was wondering what's some more, because I know when I first started like waking up to things, like whether it was an abusive husband, which I've had, which it was controlling behaviour from friends or men, and which I'm sure everyone has, but whether A, they acknowledge it, or B, they can do anything about it, or C, they've got an outlet to talk about it. So so just to, and for me to hear that, like, I thought that if my husband thumped me, then he said he's sorry and that he's really sorry. Like, I really believed he was sorry.
Yeah.
And I really believed the situation, because you're right in there with it. You're not a third person going, oh, just leave, right? So
But the thing is, you think, and then they try and sorry to cut you.
You're right.
They say to you, well, you know, I had a bad day at work because I'm working so hard to try and give you a good life. Like,
passive
they
aggressive.
will just like flip the tables. You go, well, maybe if I didn't make him work so hard, I didn't, get my hair done once a month, then he wouldn't be angry and he wouldn't beat me.
So I won't get my hair done this month.
So I won't get my hair done, so he doesn't have to work so many hours, and then he'll be more attentive and happy, and he won't beat on me.
I'll just give you, something popped in my mind there. I've been to a lot of like ladies things. I didn't do it till a bit later in life, and I was single and I just didn't know what to do with myself. And someone I knew was going to a ladies gathering, and where they got to talk about all sorts of things to do with their abusive husband. And I thought, well, I don't even know if my husband was really that abusive, and it's kind of a personal thing, right? Because they make you feel like it's a personal thing between you and him.
You should be ashamed to mention it. You should be ashamed because it's your fault.
Yeah.
So therefore, you should be ashamed. So if they make it feel like if you tell someone, that person will be like, "Well, you must be a terrible wife if your husband beat you."
What did you do to him?
What did you do to him?
What did you do to him to make him thump you?
So that's how they make it seem.
That's how they make it seem. So I went to this ladies thing, and the first person, like a bit like A, the AA, where it's like, hey, my name's Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob, and I'm an alcoholic.
Woo!
Good on you, Bob. Just admit it. Fake it till you make it, etc., etc. So the first, I just thought, oh, what's this? It's going to be wanky. I don't fit in here.
Yeah.
I don't need to be here. But the first thing, this beautiful lady, and she had 2 little kids. She had a beautiful figure. She dressed so nicely. She was about 25, and I thought, what on earth could be wrong with her life? She obviously had beautifully dyed hair. She wasn't fancy, but you could see that she was working class, and she kept herself nicely spoken, well educated. Well, she's not like a crack addict that has to hang around some guy for crack hits. She could easily make her own money, make her own rent, and take care of her kids herself. So why was she in this relationship? So I was kind of a bit interested to hear her story. Anyway, she was married to some guy who was an absolute control freak, although she didn't think he was. And so the facilitator would say to her, so what do you think was the most annoying thing that you had to do to please him? And she said, well, nothing really annoyed me because I love him. And he goes, well, just tell us a few things that you do. And she says, well, I can tell you what he really likes. He really likes his, because they're still married, he really likes his rug. And apparently he's got a rug that goes in the lounge room, and it goes from the front door to the kitchen, and there's 2 steps up to the kitchen. And this rug takes up 99% of the entire lounge room. Now, at the ends and the sides of the rug is the tassels, right? And it's over carpet. So if anyone knocks at the door, in the day that people actually used to knock on the door for various reasons, she had to go out the back, unlock the door to the laundry, run around the side of the house and check who was there. And everyone's like, well, why did you have to do that? And she said, because my husband could come home any time, and if he saw even one tassel not perfectly 45 degrees to the rug, I would get a beating. Wow. And that was the first story I heard, and I went, whoa, yeah, maybe I've got a few things to say actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, here I am, I've just come home from the hospital and you know, given birth to a baby that took me 3 days for the little to get out.
Just,
anyway.
You're only going to say the word bastard, that's all. I've heard worse.
And I come home and my husband's like, I said, oh, I'm so tired, I really need something to eat. And he just looked at me and he said, always about you, isn't it? Always about you. And I'm like, well, I've just given birth to my first baby at 40 and I really need, you know, maybe a cup of tea and a foot rub. And he just grabbed me, he's like, you're so selfish. And that was his, you know, way of just making any reason to make a fight and beat the shit out of me. And I remember blood just spurting out of my face and my lips and my gums. And I was trying to fight him off with one arm because I had a 2-hour baby in my other arm.
Had a baby in this arm,
yeah,
trying to defend herself with this arm.
with a guy who'd been in the army and fought in the war.
Yeah, he was in the army for like a decade.
Yeah. And he had been given medals for Marxism as in, you know, sharpshooting and marksmanship. That's it, not Marxism, marksmanship and hand-to-hand combat. So he was very, and he used to teach as well. So
he was like one of the best hand-to-hand combat
in Australia.
In Australia,
he got sent over to, I think, Hawaii for to do some teacher training. Like he was to help
he
teach
would be
them.
teaching, yeah.
So anyway, so he's like beating the absolute living daylights out of me, and I had the baby, and I remember just putting my hand up, just going, "Stop! Can you just let me put down the baby?"
Wow.
So I don't drop her. Right? And I didn't even think that was a bad thing. So I wanted to tell that story at the thing, and everyone's like, "No, that's not normal. That's not good," you know. But they kind of tell you that it is, and so anyway, I'm sure there's many people out there.
Well, if you had just, you know, gotten home and gone, "Can I bake you a cookie, lovely?" I just spent 3 days giving birth to this horrible bastard little midget screaming flea-infested shit machine.
No, they're puppies and kittens. No, but it was pretty awful, and I still didn't think it was a bad thing because I just thought it was my fault because they make you feel like it's your fault.
That's the way they manipulate you. Otherwise, how would they get along in life? They couldn't manipulate people.
Yep. So the manipulation is worse or just as bad as their violence. So, you know, in the group, everyone went around and told their story. So my thing is, if when you're talking to your, you know, your friends, followers, whatever you call it, on YouTube, it's nice to give a lot of examples with what gang stalking is and family members, because you might give an example of the roast and him, you know, doing something bad to you, but then someone in your, you know, what viewers will say, well, that's never happened to me. So it's really good to give lots of examples until you can really hit the nail on the head.
It might not.
Is your family.
It might be different forms, but as long as it is the cycle that they do something horrible, they make you feel guilty, and then you get angry at them. They blame you. You get angry at them, you know, for hurting you. And they come back with roses, which them trying to weasel their way back in just proves that they know that they're wrong.
Nice point.
If they thought they were in the right, they would just ignore you.
Yeah.
So, you know, if a lot of things is like, what's it called? Sabotage.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they're ultimate sabotage, and then you still end up going and
like,
doing.
whoa.
Or like the best one is when they'll say to you something. Let's say we're going to like a fair, or we call them in Australia shows. We go onto the local show, and you know, it has all like animals and rides and, you know, show bags and stuff like that. And you know, you're about to head off, and they say, like, for instance, I might be young, Mum works, although apparently you've never worked a day in your life, Mum.
According to my dad, I haven't.
And then, sorry, tangent. And then I was driving with Granddad one day past the community hall, and I said, oh, that place looks familiar. And Granddad said, yeah, Mum worked in there for a few years. I'm like, I thought she never worked a day in her life. And he's like, well, she wasn't good at it. He always has something to come back at you.
I was a youth counsellor.
Mum was a counsellor. How did I turn out so messed up?
Oh, jeez, I don't know, sweetie.
Anyways, so, what was I at before I went on my tangent?
Yeah, just giving examples of different situations that one person's might not identify with your situation because it might be completely different to theirs.
If you go off to an occasion, let's say an outing, the show, the fair, something like that, and you're just about to go, Granddad said, oh, I'll drive you, and you go, and on the way there he starts talking about how greedy you are and how you're gonna spend all of his pension. And so then you go there and you're like, well, I don't want to be here. And he goes, no, you go out, go and have fun. And it's like, but you just ruined the whole feeling of it. And then he'll give you $50 or something, and you'll feel so guilty for going and having fun. And so that entire experience, although you got to experience it, is ruined. Even if you get to do it, they've ruined the experience before it's even happened. So you might as well not go. And that's the thing. You're like, do I go? Do I not go? Well, either way, it's the same outcome. You know,
and
even if you go.
Controlling behaviour, also, you start to let yourself go a bit, which some people might notice and go, well, I put on a bit of weight, and I haven't dyed my hair for a while.
Haven't put makeup on.
Haven't put makeup on. Haven't gone to the manicurist.
Or what do men do? They get their hair at the barber or something.
Yeah, I guess.
Whatever guys do to. Well, they don't really upkeep, but whatever. You know, you notice that all your shirts have got holes in them, and you know you got some stains on your clothes, but you don't really care.
Yeah,
you haven't really tried to scrub them out. You just chuck everything in the laundry. Like, just the little things that make you. You know, like with Mum, I know when she's kind of low because she does the washing, the clothes washing, and if the clothes come out and they got like little stain spots on them, like she hasn't sprayed them. Just that little thing just shows me that she's in a low place. What shows you that I'm in a low place, Mum? Am I ever in a high place? You can't tell. It's like, is she lower than the low?
I think you start doing artwork.
Yeah, I'm depressed when I start doing art. And you know how to know an artist is depressed? They start using charcoal.
Yeah, and all her artwork is of like fairies, like human-sized fairies with big wings, and they're sitting there just cutting off their feathers or something. You know,
that symbolizes depression. And then if you do that in charcoal, 'cause it's like really dark and smudgy.
Yeah, lots of dark smudges and stuff. So
there you go. I didn't know that about myself.
There's a lot of different scenarios with gang stalkers in the family, and you just got to really analyse. I guess what you got to start with is, am I happy? Right? Do I work? And I should have plenty of money, but I don't.
Right.
Another situation I was in with a partner once was we were so poor. I had a good salary, he had a good salary, and we were so poor all the time. And he would sort of say to me, well, you bought those shoes last week, or you bought this, or you bought that. And I'd say, well, you know, don't you spend money? No, I don't buy anything. You're the one that spends all the money. And so I was so guilty.
They've both got really good salaries. Like, they're both on bloody. What would you have been on?
Well, at the time it would have been $500 to $700 a week, sort of 20 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, and so he was always blaming me. That's why we couldn't afford to go to restaurants. And so the same thing. I stopped dyeing my hair. I stopped buying myself clothes and stuff like that. Anyway, we you know, we'd spent probably 3 years together, and he used to use my car because we lived in a city that had really good railway, and so like, you know, fast trains.
Yeah, the
in city.
VCF.
Yeah.
Were you living in Perth at that
Perth,
time?
yeah, that's right.
So it's on the opposite side of us at the moment. We're on the east coast.
The other side of the
That was on the west coast.
Yeah, so he used to use my car sometimes, and he said, I just got to nip down and get something. Yeah, no worries. And I'd have a bit of time to myself, and he would too. And so every day, you know, he spent a couple of hours going somewhere. You know, then after we'd separated, because he used to clean my car, you know, a couple of weeks went past, and I thought, I better clean my car. And so I had a ute the same as this, and I pulled the seat forward of my car, and under the seat was thousands and thousands. Oh, fuck. I went past the turn off to our place. Stop right there. Okay.
Oh my gosh, you just went from like 100 kilometers to 0 in like 10 meters.
Yeah. Okay. There's a car coming.
Yeah,
I'll wait for him. Yeah,
no.
anyway, so when I looked under my car seat, thousands and thousands of tiny little red pencils.
Little red pencils.
And little red pencils you only get
With Keno.
for the Keno at pubs and stuff, and you do Keno, which is gambling. So basically, 3 years of our relationship, we had not even gone out for a coffee because we never had any money. And then after we separated, I found out he was a gambling addict.
And we're not just talking a gambler like you go to the pub on a Friday and you put 50 bucks on
or $20 in the
20 bucks on the horses. No.
He's putting $20 or $50 per Keno thing.
Yeah.
And he'd go to the casino or wherever, the pub or whatever, for a couple of hours.
How much would he spend a week, do you reckon? Well, if you calculate how much you earned
Yeah.
and how much went missing.
Yeah, his entire salary. Out of my salary, I had to pay the rent and buy all the food. And then he said he was doing something else important. Like we had a house in another place, and he said he was making extra payments off the house. So the idea was we lived and worked in Perth, and then we would pay off the house in Tassie. So when we got back to Tassie, we would own it
But
outright.
he was never
That's the
paying
dream.
it off.
That's the dream.
He was
right?
never paying it.
Yep.
All of his money was just going
Every
into
cent.
gambling. So, and his entire salary, he just had mum, and she just paid for everything while he got to fill his gambling addiction.
Yeah. So there's just another form of gang stalking, another form of abuse, and
Yeah, well, money is really used as abuse.
really, financial abuse is a huge part of gang stalking. Huge part. That they make you feel so bad that you spent $5, but in actual fact, they're the ones that are spending the money.
They're spending
So-
bloody $1,000 a week in 20 years ago
Yeah.
on gambling.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So
yeah. So how do you so easy to be addicted to being gang stalked because you get in this cycle, don't you?
yes,
And confusion, that's another aspect, isn't it?
absolutely.
Did you ever feel like confused about
Yeah,
what either your dad
you
did
I always felt confused because you thought that you'd done something wrong and that you were just a suckish person, because every single person that was close to you, like family wise, always were like, you know, you're just a freeloader, you know, you always want something from me, you know. Like my granddad, we'd go out there, cook a roast, he'd cook a roast, and we'd go out there, he says, oh, you only come out here for a feed. It's like, no,
my goodness.
remember that? We'd go out there and say, we'll bring lunch, and he says, no, don't bring lunch, I'll cook. We get there, we eat lunch, and then he makes a fight and says, you just only come out here for food. It's like, we were the ones going to shout lunch, but you just were adamant that you should cook, because otherwise you'd have nothing to use against us.
Yeah. So it's always these mixed messages. That's another thing that gang stalking is, always mixed messages.
Yeah.
It's always like that. Like,
Exactly. One day, you know, you do something like this, and they go to you the next day and say, why are you doing it like this? You should be doing it like that.
yeah.
You know,
and so you're confusion.
Yeah,
And
so
you
you're
know,
always
confusion
confused.
is the work of the devil.
Absolutely.
That's his number one tool. So if you're feeling, so these are the sort of little hints that was giving you, is like, are you look in the mirror, how do you look?
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking like you did 5 years ago? Have you put on weight? Are you wearing sloppy clothes?
Are you putting effort into your appearance?
Yeah.
Are you putting effort into your social life? That's the first thing to go, is appearance and social life. Because if you don't have a social life, what's the point of wearing a bra in the morning?
Yeah.
There is no point because no one's gonna see you. Well, oh come on, the story of the lady we met during lockdown.
Oh, that was so funny. Nothing to do with gang stalking.
Nothing to do with gang stalking. Just absolutely funny.
But the first time we'd ever been locked down, you know, I mean, no one's ever heard of being locked down. I mean, the last time that happened was in like the wars.
Yeah.
And
But that was consensual.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to go
Everyone
and hide in their basement because they were actually scared.
of being nuked. Yeah, so we it was only like 2 or 3 days into being locked down, and we still believed the whole narrative at that time.
Exactly.
That it was going to last 2 weeks. But anyway, we were just staying in a van park showgrounds, and we were just staying in our tent, and it was just in this big cement, you know, enclosure sort of where we were.
Like a car park.
Like a car park. And so I said, Lil, I need a plant. I just need a plant. So we looked online and we saw a plant and we snuck off in the car, hoping we wouldn't get like shot down and then snipe it out. And so we went and got this plant, and this is this really nice area and this hanging plant. And this lady, we knocked at the door and she answered the door and she goes, hi, like this. And I said, oh, g'day. It was late in the afternoon,
She looked
right?
like a
really middle class, nice nails.
Yeah, she had her nails done. You could see she had like fake permanent fake eyelashes.
Yeah, she was really middle class.
Yeah, she had
And
all the
so it was
stuff
about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she had big boobies, and I also have big boobies. And you know, when you have big boobies, you have to put a bra on in the morning, otherwise you'd flop around. You know.
If you don't put a bra on in the morning, you're not going
you
anywhere.
can't. Oh my gosh, you can't sit in the car.
But you know you're not. If you wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
you're like, am I going anywhere? No, I'm not going to wear a
I'm
bra.
not going to wear a bra.
today.
So this lady had big boobas, and she had on a dressing gown at 2 o'clock, and I looked at her and I went, you haven't got a bra on, have you? Like, complete stranger. You wouldn't normally say that, but I've
Yeah.
got the big boobies and she's got the big boobies. So looked at me and she goes, and really middle class, and she said, fuck the bra. And I thought, oh, she's going to have a go at me, you know. I've
Offended her.
Offended her. And she said, fuck the bra, and she opened her mouth. She goes, I
Hadn't
didn't even
even
put me teeth in. That's hilarious. But,
Okay.
you know,
Same sort of thing though.
Yeah.
What's the point? Why
What's
do I
the
put?
point?
Why
That
do I
is
put
how you
effort?
feel.
That's the point of that
Yeah.
funny story. True but funny is because what's the point of putting your bloody bra on or your teeth in when no one's gonna come and see you? So if you cut out your
people
social
that
life,
are in your circle just hang shit on you and abuse you all the time.
yes. So if you don't have a social life or the people in your life are just saying, well, you know, you're ugly and stuff like that, you're just gonna go, well, why am I bothering
Why-
to put effort
Yeah.
in?
For a start, you're going to go over the top and you'll really try, and then after that, it's like, oh, this just can't be stuff. But
You know, you'll just be normal, you know, and then your partner might say, oh, something, you never look nice. And then, you know, so you'll wear something really pretty and you'll try to, like, you
And
know,
then they'll
maybe
say something
diet
like-
a little bit.
then they'll say something like, who are you trying to look good for?
And then you just go, all right,
I
bring
won't
on the
look
slob.
good. Yeah. So it's always this kind of this constant bantering abuse. And so the first thing to do is look in the mirror and see how you look. If you look like shit, why are you looking like shit? Probably because someone in your immediate family is abusing you through gang stalking.
Yep, exactly.
And then what's some other telltale signs?
Some other telltale signs
Maybe
is
losing
that,
track of your friends. I
Yeah.
remember you saying that.
yes. So the next thing is that you're, you lose track, you lose your social life. Not because you push someone away, but because, you know, they say, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to go see Sally. Oh, is it really Stella? Are you going to see another boy? And then you go, oh,
Well,
you
I
know
won't
what,
go.
then I'll just stay home. Like sabotage. That's like that's a form of sabotage,
Yep.
I think.
And another one that I've noticed is being denied. They'll deny you, and they'll basically outrightly lie. That's a huge
That's a
gaslighting.
really big
That's
thing.
really gaslighting.
For instance, me and Mum have always taken care of my granddad. Mum took care of my granddad first, and my granddad has never been to the barber because Mum has always cut his hair. She always gives him a nice short, you know, like a number 4 or something, just all round.
Shave up the back of his
Shave up
neck.
the back of his neck. Trim his sideburns. Maybe even up the nostrils.
The eyebrows, yeah.
Like really keeps him tidy.
Mhm.
And then, you know, one day, you know, he just said, well, you know, you never do anything for me. I'm like, well, what about Mum with, you know, your grooming? And he says, she's never done anything. She's never cut my hair. I'm like,
Never once.
really? She cuts her hair every, like, 2 weeks to keep it in check.
Yeah, buy all his clothes.
Yeah, we do that. We bought all his clothes. Like,
Forever.
we would go to, like, I guess you call it Walmart in America, Kmart here, Target. I think they have Target.
I don't think so.
And so you know, they would we would, hang on, I just mixed two together. We would go to Target or Kmart or Big W, all the medium chain stores, and we'd buy him some comfortable clothes for around the house, and we'd also go shopping at this place called Williams, which is like really fancy, like farming
For farming,
country people. And
yeah.
you know that you'd have like really nice
Just a shirt, like a long sleeve.
like a long sleeve shirt. What do you call them? Flannel. Like a really nice flannel sort of, but it was like a proper shirt, like you'd wear to church or something. That sort of fabric, but it would be in the shape of flannel, so you could look all cowboy but you look classy at the same time. And you know, nice jeans and belts and braces and all that stuff. So you know, we'd give him his nice, beautiful attire, and we bought him once like a nice cowboy hat because he used to be a farmer, and then we'd get him, you know, some tracky dacks and just some sweatpants and sweatshirt and all that, you know, sort of comfy stuff, and pajamas, and all my socks got holes in them. All right, we'll go and buy another 50 pairs.
All out of our pocket.
All about, you know, I need some more jocks. All right, we'll go and buy some more. All out of our pocket. And then he just says, "You do nothing for me." I'm like, wait, do you mean like nothing, or like nothing? And he's like, "Nothing. You do nothing for me."
And
like,
something like which is really tunes into the classic gaslighting, is that you say, like, say for instance, normal men's underpants are $5, right? The ones that just look like panties, you know, with a boy bit in the front. Oh, that's what I call
toady
normal.
whities.
That's what I call like man panties. And then I'd buy him the beautiful ones that go halfway down your thigh, and they're like lycra, and they're really comfortable.
Yeah.
And I bought him a pair of those accidentally once, and he goes, "Oh, I really like those. They're really comfy." So I bought those for the next, 20 years. I bought the
And
same
not to
style.
mention, they're like $20
Really
pair.
expensive. Well, they're 45
where the little
now.
jock panties are like
3 for 10 or something.
So yeah, exactly.
And so then he said once, he goes, "Well, I never liked those long short ones you got." He goes, "They're always too tight around the legs." I said, "Well, why did you tell me?" He goes, "Oh, I didn't want to upset you." Of course you wanted to upset me, otherwise you wouldn't have told me that, would you?
Why would you say it in an argument? Well, I didn't say that because I didn't want to upset you. Then why would you bring it up during an argument? You're bringing it up during an argument. We have been ranting for nearly 40 minutes.
Oh, really? Well, we better make
go.
a part 2 for how to fix it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Mwah.